Hello, I'm Silas Ward, and this is how to set up and cast an old-style bait caster reel. My specific model is the Pflueger Model 1933. I don't know the exact age of this reel or when it was produced, but I know it's a pretty decent reel, and I bought this and a crappie pole. Weird combination, but I've utilized both in a recent thrift store. Okay, first up, these old bait caster reels do take a bit of weight. Keep that in mind. They don't need a whole bunch, but they need a decent bit. They're not going to just cast a jig and bobber. This is for catfishing and bass fishing. You need something bigger. Once you have that in mind, you want your reel right here. You're going to have two drag knobs. One of mine's missing. But you would first, if your reel has one, turn your your anti-backlash about halfway through. This specific model has anti-backlash. Then, adjust your drag knob until it is barely letting out line. Next up, grab that thing and really give it a cast. If it don't want to let out as much line as if you really think it could, reel it back in. And like I'm doing, set a little bit looser. Just a tad bit. You don't want to adjust it much. Grab it, rip it out again. That's much better. If your reel isn't getting loose enough to cast, I recommend going in there and getting all that grease and gunk off of it and applying new oil and grease to the reel. I promise, it makes a huge difference. This one wouldn't get nearly loose before I greased it. I opened it up, put a little bit of oil on it. It works much better, almost like new. Grab it, take it, thumb over spool. Pull it back at about the 4 o'clock position. Throw it forward and barely keep pressure on that spool to keep it from backlashing. Reel it back in and make adjustments if needed. I've adjusted this reel perfectly, just to my liking, so I can throw a perfect, I believe it's 1/4 ounce sinker on it. Maybe 1/2 ounce. But you want about, I'd say at least 1/4 of weight. Okay, you have all your drag loose and your anti-backlash halfway open. You've got it casted. Now what I do? Make sure you have a good catfish rig on. I'm going to make a YouTube short explaining one of the best catfish rigs and my favorite, simply because of the simplicity of it. Okay. First, you want to turn that anti-backlash all the way on. Then, set both your drag knobs. I'm missing one of them, but I'd be turning it here. Set them all the way up. Pull it. If it needs to be looser, set your drag a little bit looser. Start with the drag, then the anti-backlash. Get it to whatever you want. Find a good place to rest it. Like a stick, like one of those rod stands, against a stump, anywhere that it's not going to get pulled into the water if a big catfish comes and takes your line. Say I have a fish on. What I'm going to do is, if I got a catfish on my reel, I'm going to reel up all that slack slowly so I can feel that catfish. When it starts biting, wait probably 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Wait a second until it's really got that line. Then you want a quick, swift jerk. That's going to set the hook on that catfish. If you're using circle hooks, you don't have to set the hook. I like a real light kind of jerk. That will make sure that hook is stuck good in that catfish's mouth. You're going to reel that catfish in and then take it off the hook and set it in your cooler. Thank you for watching. This is Silas's Redneck Adventures, and this series is Fishing on a Budget. Some amazing rods and reels can be found at vintage stores and at thrift stores, and this Pflueger is one of them. Make sure to look around, pick one up, as it's a piece of history and it's a piece of equipment you should always utilize.